This video is completely generated with AI from one single voice note. And yes, it is my avatar speaking there. In this video, I will show you how you can do the same. We will create an automation workflow using make.com, and I will also share some tips and tricks that I have learned during those 2 weeks building this project, so you don't have to spend the same amount of time figuring it out. Videos like that are extremely popular on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and even on LinkedIn. So if you are building a personal brand and you don't have time to record those videos yourself, then you are in the right place. Now let's watch the video with the sound.
So, a new AI model just destroyed the tech hierarchy overnight. Have you heard about DeepSeek? In just weeks, they became the #1 App Store sensation. And here's why consumers are ruthlessly switching platforms.
As you can see and hear, this person looks exactly like me. She sounds very similar to me. And everything in this video, including background images, screenshots, subtitles, voice, and animations, it is all created by AI. So, curious how to do that? Let's jump into building. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Nadia. I've been working as a software developer for over 10 years, and over a year I've been helping companies with AI implementation. So if you don't want to build this project yourself, if you need technical help, or if you have some other projects in mind, then feel free to reach out to me using the link below, or connect and message me on LinkedIn. This is the overview of our automation. I know it looks like a lot, but it's not so complicated once we get into it. And there is also the second part. So let me first tell you how it works on the high level. This is how this automation works. So it starts with a simple text or voice note in a Telegram chat. I created a Telegram bot that I use, but you can use obviously any other channel to trigger this automation. And if it is a voice note, then we transcribe the voice into a text and we use that text to create a script. After a lot of attempts, I have figured out that Claude is the best one at creating that script. And we specify some parameters. After we have that script prepared by Claude, then we use HeyGen to create the video avatar. And after we get that avatar, we send a notification back to our user, to us in Telegram, and start with the second part of this automation. At this point, we have our avatar token, but we want to have a background, right? For that, what we do, I transcribe that video again and extract subtitles together with timestamps. Why I do that is because, in my opinion, it is always better when we have some background images with our avatar, and those background images help to enhance the story. It can be not only AI generated images, but some supporting evidence. In many videos that I have seen online, people use screenshots from web pages, and I found a way to automate it. So we use Gemini to search the internet for proofs based on the script. And then I use a smart model like O3 Mini that uses the information gathered on the internet together with our script, and it helps to create some scenes and identify which screenshot or which image should go at what time, basically. And to collect those screenshots, I use AgentQL. So it is obviously not mandatory to use screenshots. You can use just images, AI-generated images. And after that, after we create all those images and after we search the internet and save all those screenshots, we need to combine it all together into one video. If your avatar is not on a green screen, then it is possible to remove the background from your video avatar and use background images to create video, and then put your avatar in front of those images. And finally, you can add subtitles, additional elements, and music. After the avatar is ready, then the final message is sent to my Telegram account and I see the final video. This is the example of my Telegram bot. This is the message that I have sent it. So I asked it to write some information about DeepSeek, and it is a very raw, unedited format. Then it replied with my video avatar from HeyGen, and then the final video, which we have just seen together. Now let's see how to build it, and it starts with the message that I sent in Telegram. this one. So you will need to add a new module, add Telegram. It is watch updates. So watch updates. This one, it's instant. As soon as message arrives, you get the notification. It happens immediately. And it is indicated here in immediately as data arrives. Okay, you add this module, then I will delete it, but we'll see it together. So we identify that the first message, it can be either a voice note or it can be a message. And in case it is a voice note, we need to transcribe it. And this is the route for transcription. It checks for message voice, and also once we get that message, then we download. Okay, let me run it and I will show it to you. Now we are in Telegram and let's record a message. I want to post a video about a new GPT researcher and say that it performs much better than DeepSeek. It helps to find very useful information and it can save you many days of manual research. We have got this message and now it will create a script. Once we get that message, we click here and we see that this message has voice collection. So what we do in the first route is we check if this message voice exists, and it exists only if it is a voice note, obviously. Then we download this voice message. It is Telegram download a file. Then we save that voice note to a Dropbox. You can use any other tool for saving that message. The main point is that when we transcribe a voice note, and I use Assembly AI for that, we need audio URL. And unfortunately, this Telegram note, it does not return us the URL. It returns us the whole data. So we need to take this data. We need to upload this file. So upload it to a folder in my Dropbox, create a shareable link for that file. And finally, we use Assembly AI to transcribe that note. And then it put this into a variable. It allows us to later on the second step get this variable. And so if this variable exists, then we get our final message. Final message is just set multiple variables and I set text. So if it was a voice note, then we use that voice note. And if it was a text from the original Telegram message, then we use that message. I tested many different models. I tested DeepSeek for creating a script. I tested DeepSeek R1. I tested Perplexity to create the script. By the way, Perplexity worked also quite decently. And I also tried to use Gemini. What I wanted to do is to feed Gemini with a couple of viral videos that I tried to upload to Gemini and then use those videos as examples. But it did not work well, and from my experiments, Claude is the winner. It always created nice scripts. So then I reformat this for a speech synthesis. Why it is important? On the next step, we will be creating an avatar, and our avatar needs to say something. But if, let's say, we have some special characters, then it is possible that our speech synthesis doesn't work as expected. So we want to make sure that our script is written in a way that our avatar can read. Here is my prompt. So I asked it to remove punctuation, to use double exclamation marks, to use double question marks, and also capital keys should only be used for abbreviation, because in some speech synthesis modules, if you write something in capital keys, so they read it letter by letter instead of reading the whole word. But it will depend on the text-to-speech tool that you use. In my example, I used 11 Labs and I also used internal HeyGen's voice, and both of them work well with this prompt. Okay, let's see what was there. This is the prompt that Claude came up with, and this is the formatted script. It did what it was intended to do. It transformed all dates into the way we speak it. Okay, and by the way, our video avatar is ready. So it told us that calculation from the 1980s, right? So we would have not known how our avatar would pronounce this 1980s. And it's always better to reformat the script. So this is what I have found worked well. And then we send that script to HeyGen. If you don't know it yet, HeyGen is the platform that helps you to create realistic videos, realistic AI videos from just 1 minute of a video that you record. And that is the platform which I use. And I would say that from my testing, it is one of the best platforms out there, even though I have tested a couple of them, and still I would say that HeyGen is the easiest one. It also has API plan that I use in this automation. I am on this plan, but you can start for free and you'll be able to create 10 1-minute videos or 20, 30 seconds videos. Inside our automation, Make already has this HeyGen block, and you need to create your connection. So you create your connection, you add one, and you add an API key. Let me also show you where you can get your API key after you create your account on HeyGen, and you can create your avatar there also for free. So you can create your avatar here, you navigate to avatars, you create an avatar, and this one is mine. You can also add multiple looks. So in my account, I have already 3 looks. One of them is with green screen. I will show it to you later how to do that. And I started just with a basic one with this one, but you can use other tools to create your avatar on a green screen, and it will help us later. Once you are there, go to space settings, and here is our API key. Copy it and you can paste it into your Make connection right here into the API key, and then you'll be able to pick your avatar from the list. I picked that it is it is scale 1, normal style, and most of the settings are default ones. I also use a voice ID. You get voice ID in HeyGen, the one created by default. I also use 11 labs to clone my voice. I have tried the voice that was initially generated with HeyGen, and it was quite good. So if you don't want to use 11 labs, you can go without it. But my tip to you is to then record your avatar video with a good, like the better it is, the better. Basically, the videos that you generate will be very similar in quality to the ones that you recorded. So if you don't have clear voice there, then the voice that HeyGen generates will also be not clear. So use better settings and better microphone to record your videos. And if you don't do that, you can clone your voice with 11 labs. 11 labs has this feature to clone your voice. And if I go to voices and to my personal voices, then you can see that I have created 3 voices. One of them is professional, and you need to be on a creator plan in order to create it. But usually I have already upgraded my subscription. Usually when you are just the first time here, then you'll be able to subscribe for $11 in your first month. And after you do that, you can go to voices, you can create a professional voice of yourself, add a new one, professional voice clone, and yeah, you will need to provide around 10 to 30 minutes of good quality audio. I recorded my voice using this microphone that I'm wearing right now. I would also recommend you to read text similar to the ones that you intend to produce with your avatar. By the way, this is where you get your API key. You go here and you will see your key. And then if you go back to HeyGen, to your AI voice tab, here you'll be able to integrate a third-party voice, and you can insert a voice from 11 Labs here. Just import voice, 11 labs, paste your API key, and you'll be fine. I also tried Cartesia and PlayHT. Cartesia didn't work well, even though I upgraded to a paid plan. It did not work well for me. PlayHT was fine, but I did not upgrade. It is more expensive than 11 labs, and I went with 11 labs in the end. But PlayHT also had a decent quality. Now we are back at our make.com scenario. So you pick your voice. It comes from HeyGen, not from 11 Labs. So you first need to import your voice if you do it from 11 Labs to HeyGen, and then you pick your voice here. And then you say that your AI avatar needs to say this text. This text comes from our previous blog, from our ChatGPT. And I use GPT for all, mini. Yeah, I use mini model because we just need to clean up the script from Claude a little bit. And I also specified width and height here. And if you are on a paid plan, like I am, you can use those settings, but if you are on a free plan, then your resolution is limited to 720p, so you would need to adjust it. And after this is done, I save the data to an internal database, to an internal storage. Not many use it, but you have this data store here, and you can access it inside make.com. So I added add or replace a record, and I created a new data structure, so you can pick, it will be empty for you, but you can add a new data structure. You can add your store, you can add that structure, add an item, for example, or you can use this sample JSON and generate this from JSON. Data storage doesn't really matter in this case. 1 megabyte should be enough. This is what I have. Voice to real. And I save video ID, I save script, I save Telegram thread ID, and I save date. And then this record will also contain the link to our avatar, the link to the background video, the link to music track, final video URL, and video length. So the rendering a video in HeyGen doesn't happen immediately. It takes around 2 minutes or so, maybe longer than that. And we don't want to wait for all the time here. And by the way, I also believe it is not possible to wait right here for HeyGen, and that is why we have another step. This is step 2, and it starts with the HeyGen module. So here is HeyGen. Again, you can add a module, you can paste HeyGen, and it has this watch new videos. Once you pick your HeyGen connection, then it automatically will start to monitor new videos in your account. After that, I get a video. Let me see the history. This is the new video which we have just received. And what happens here? So we get this, we get event data, we get video ID, and we get the URL for our newly created AI avatar. Then I use a new block for testing purposes, and it's easier. So I save video ID, I also save URL, and when you, let's say when you are testing the solution and you want to test only some part of the video, you can unlink this module and move your starting point to this URL, and then you can statically set some video ID and URL ID, and then it will be fine. Okay, I will move it back. And then once I have the video ID, remember we have just saved the video to a database, and then we want to get that data back from the database. So I set search record, and I pick the data store which we have just created. I search for video ID that we have just received, and pick the first record only. We will later use this module to update and set URLs during the whole progress of the video creation. And after this is done, then I first send a notification in Telegram. And if this record is found, only when we have found this record, we save that video URL. That is what I have just mentioned. We take keys from the previous block. That is why we need it in the first place here. Then we only update the avatar video URL. So at this stage, this URL will be saved. Just to give you an idea of where you can see the progress, then you go to data store. Whatever names you pick for your data stores, they will be here. And I use voice to reel to store the main video, and I also then use voice to reel scenes to store scene for each of scenes in that video, for each image or each website screenshot that we use. Okay, let's view the first one. It is here. So we have key video ID script, just what I have shown you. And this is the last one. We have script, we have video ID and Telegram thread ID that allows us to send notifications back to the same channel in Telegram. Right, let's move back to our scenarios. And after we have saved the URL, as I mentioned before, we want to transcribe that video. Basically, we only need subtitles because we already have a transcription. But in order to get subtitles, we first need to transcribe. This is how Assembly AI works. So the first step will be to use Assembly AI to transcribe that newly generated avatar. It is basically the same block that we have used to transcribe audio from Telegram, but this time. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you use video URL or audio URL, it will work in both cases. So it works with HeyGen. I also see that I specified punctuate and format text. I set those values to yes. I'm not sure if it makes any difference or not, but then you have this block to set to get subtitles for a transcript. And when you use it, you just pass the transcript ID from the previous block, from this one. And I pick regular subtitles. And after we get a transcript, then we, I use this block to set a Gemini API key. In this block, I want to pass the transcript and ask Gemini to find supporting evidence with links, images, and charts, right? Okay, there is an option to use Gemini model right here in Make with a regular integration. So you see you have this make an API call or make a completion, but the problem is that it timed out almost every time that I run it. So I had to remove it and use the basic HTTP block to emulate the same search that Gemini would do. But HTTP block has longer timeout, like 5 minutes or so you can use it. And if you show advanced settings here, you can specify, I believe you can specify the timeout, yeah, right here. And this is how it looks. So it is a regular API. And you can use Google AI Studio to test your prompt to see how it works. You go here, you click this grounding with Google search. After you have done your testing, you can click on Get Code. And here, if you pick C URL, then it will generate the body for the request that you need to send. And you use this post, like this string from here in your HTTP request here, and you replace your key with your API key from here from Google AI Studio. And also you use that body request from here. When it says D and this curly bracket, you basically can copy it and use this text inside request content. And the model I use is Gemini 1.5 Flash. This one supports grounding. And then I ask it to find supporting evidence for the text for our script. And just to show you the result of it, I went to the history, and here is the result. It's that provide describes revolutionary AI tool, GPT researcher. It tried to find the facts that confirm our script, and this is grounding chunks. So it returned 4 resources, and it also has those grounding supports where it basically says which text from this response corresponds to which background in chunks. And this is how it works. But then we need to use that information together with our script to split our script into chunks and define which background we need to show for our script. How I solved it is I parse first research data, and then I decided to clean up the research, because in the basic response that our Gemini model returns, it returns too much information, too much clutter for the following model to make any sense of it. So I basically just use some of the pieces of information from previous block from Gemini and save them in that new data structure. And then finally, we pass all that data to a new OpenAI O3 model. It is good with thinking and analyzing, and I found that it works very decently in this case. Instead of system module, it has developer module. You pick O3 Mini here, and this is the prompt I used. Probably it is a little bit more detailed than needed, but without all those details, it did not perform well. So I basically instructed it to use subtitles and to use research results from previous blog to create scenes from the video, and I also specified how the output should be structured. I want to see timestamps, I want to see scene numbers because it is important for us to order them properly. I want to also see scene description, AI image description, because we will be using AI image generation later. If it is a screenshot of a web page, then I want to see the resource URL and to see if it is like if we need to have a screenshot or if you use AI image instead. And it is all specified here. I also said that each scene should be 4 to 8 seconds, and it is extremely important that you create scenes for the whole length of the video. I also tried to do it with DeepSeek R1, and I would say that it worked well. It even worked better for AI image prompts. Okay, let me connect this and I will show you what was there. It was the same, but everything is in one prompt. I also fed it with subtitles and I fed it with research result. It was DeepSeek Reasoner. It was decent. However, in a couple of cases, it did not produce me the whole list of scenes. It produced only like scenes for the first 30 seconds, but not for the whole length of the video. And unfortunately, it happened sometimes, and together with just how unstable it was, I decided to switch to O3. Let's take a look at the result that we got. I'm not sure if it is decent because I didn't give enough information about GPT Researcher previously, but let's take a look. Videos, it came up with 8 scenes. It found some resources. I'm very curious to see those resources. Let's take a look. Okay, yeah, actually it found GPT Researcher, not the one from OpenAI, but that is what I asked, right? And second scene is an AI image with digital illustration, then another AI image, and so on. At this point, we have all that we need to produce our video. We have the avatar, we have the description for the background, we know if the background is a web page or if it is an AI image, and that is all we need. What happens next is we put this router here, and it has multiple routes. If you don't know, it is important in which sequence you put those routes. This is the first route, and it will be executed also in this order. What we want to do, we have just got scenes from our previous blog, and we take those videos. So we iterate through all the videos. Here we put a filter. So we only want to process in this route those videos that have resource URL and that actually have this is existing source set to true. And then I use AgentQL. You can use other tools to take screenshots of the pages, but I like AgentQL because they allow you to bypass bot detection in many places. Not always, but it works decently in many scenarios. It also tries to close pop-ups, and you can just go through their documentation and see what is possible. And after we get a screenshot, I want to use OpenAI to validate if the page that we have found actually contains the information or not, because in a couple of cases I saw that still, for example, when it tried to take a screenshot from Reddit, Reddit restricted the bot, and the page that was returned, it didn't contain any information, so it contained only the message that this page has been restricted. That is why I put this additional validation from OpenAI to take a look at the image, and I use this file, map, and image from AgentQL. If you use AgentQL, you need to convert it to base 64. So for that, you use binary function from make, and then we use that result properly loaded. So if it is true, then we continue this flow. If it is not true, then it will be handled later, and we will actually create an image instead. So if it is captured, then what I do in this flow is I can use Dropbox to upload that file. And after I upload that file, I create a share link for that file and save that file in that additional data store that I created for storing scenes for each of those videos that I have. At this point, we are done with screenshots, and next we want to process AI images. So we have just saved our screenshot into a local storage. And on this step, after the first route has been executed, we come to the second route, which is process images. There is no filter. I just use this label for myself to understand what is going on here. And at this route, I get back the scenes that have been created already for this video. In this case, those will be scenes with screenshots. So I want to filter it by video ID that we are currently working on, and also see the generated file URL exists. So we have just put the URL here, generated file URL. And so I filter here only videos that already have that file URL generated. And after that, I use the aggregator. Let me quickly go back and I will show it to you. In this case, there were 3 scenes with screenshots. And when after first route has been executed, when we came to the second round, then I found those 3 scenes, and then we basically aggregate them and have a new array with number of scenes. It's scene 1, scene 5, and scene 7. Maybe you can do it in a more efficient way. If you know how to do it, then let me know down in the comments. This is how I made it work. And after we have numbers of scenes that we do not want to process, and then we iterate through all the videos again, through all the scenes. Here is the filter. So we go through all of those scenes, and we don't need to process the scenes that are screenshots. That is why we have this filter right here. After the iterator, we only pick scenes that are not inside the list of scenes with screenshots. This is how it is done. It is possible that we wanted to create a screenshot, but the page was restricted, or something else happened, and we don't have an AI prompt yet for that image. That is why we have a router here, and it says that if detailed AI image description is not yet here, then we use ChatGPT basically to create a new prompt. And then we save the prompt, and after we save the prompt, we get the image. And here is another trick here. I will explain it in a moment. So we get a new prompt that was saved here. And again, we try to come up with some scene description, and this is the final prompt. So before that, we had only the scene description and what should be there. And at this point, we try to get the actual prompt for our AI image. And I say that output prompt and prompt only. Keep in mind the image will be vertical for this case, and use consistent style, flat vector illustration. This is what I use for myself. So if you want to replace, you would need to obviously change some things in this module. I use replicate to create my images, and I use Ideogram on replicate to create those images. Okay, this is the model. that I use, and it costs a cents per image. If you want to use it, there is the API. You will need to create an account, and you can use it via API. And here you can use HTTP to get the URL post, and your replicate API token will be here once you sign in, once you register. And this, like, you can even give it a try and then see how it works right here before you use it in Make. I also created the data structure because sometimes what I found is that it came with a prompt with quotation marks, for example, and then it broke the final JSON. That is why I first use this JSON block to generate this structure that replicate expects from us. It expects input, prompt, aspect ratio, and that is exactly what we set here, aspect ratio. So you basically go here, you click add, and then you use generate, and you paste sample data from here, for example, like this. You copy it, you come back here, you paste this data here, you generate, and it will generate this new structure. And then I finally send this to Ideogram. So I use credentials for replicate. I use that URL from here, right from here. This is a post method. This is raw JSON and the JSON string that we have just created, and parse the response. The problem here is that it might take anywhere from 20 seconds to 60 seconds to generate an image, and you don't really know what time will be enough. So I put a timer for 30 seconds here, and it will sleep for 30 seconds, and then it will try to get the image. But again, it is possible that after 30 seconds, the image will not yet be generated. And that is why you need to loop and check if image is generated, let's say each 30 seconds, but there is no innate support in Make for that, and that is why I use my own version for polling. This is flow control and repeater in Make, and I set it to 3 times. If after 30 seconds this is not ready, then I wait for 20 more seconds, and then for 20 more seconds. And if after 1 minute, 10 seconds, it is not yet generated, then sorry, it is not your lucky day. So this block is basically checking if the image is generated. You get your URL ID back from the previous module when you send your prompt to replicate, and you get your URL, okay, data, URLs, and get, this is get URL. So you send a get request to this URL, and it will return you some data. Again, you need to set parse response to yes. And then this is where I check. So if the status says that it is still processing, then I wait for 20 seconds. If the status is succeeded, then we have our image. So I use this parameter image created to understand if image is created or not. And if it is set to true, then all is fine and we can go out of this loop. This is basically what I check here. So if image created is false, or if it doesn't exist, then we need to repeat the process. If it is created, then this loop will be exited at this iteration. And then finally, we get the image, we download the result. It is a basic HTTP module from make.com for get a file, and we get the file from the previous check status from replicate. Okay, it is getting a little bit more complicated than I expected it to be, but I'm sure you will figure it out. Now we do the same as we did before. I copy those blocks and I save again my newly generated image to Dropbox. I create a share link in Dropbox, and I save that URL to the local storage right here. And in case nothing works, then I save an empty row here with scene image. And I would recommend you to use a fallback image in this case. Just create something on Dropbox and share the link here. Okay, and at this point we have all the scenes. Here you can see the scenes that were saved in our database, and we have here video ID, scene description, everything that we need. Scene start, scene end, and generated file URL. And obviously we can take a look at the generated file from here. But why we need it is because now we are ready to generate the video. How I do it is I take scenes from the database, I filter them by video ID, and I also sort them by scene ID so that we have all the scenes in order. And finally, I aggregate it to a structure that we will be using later. Let's take a look at the structure. We will be using JSON to video. This is a great tool that I have found on the internet that allows you to create videos from static images or combine videos. And I have tested other tools. This one was the best one in terms of how easy it is to use. Probably it can be a little bit confusing for non-technical people, but I'm sure that with some effort you can understand how it works. And after you connect all those modules and create a block for a JSON to video, you will be able to pick the structure for your JSON to video. You cannot pick it immediately, but once you have that block there, this is one of the main features that also I don't see beginners use, but this is possible and that is super helpful. So we want to combine all our scenes into a structure that is appropriate for JSON to video to process our videos. And so when we have the block and we pick that target structure from this dropdown, we see that image comes from our URL, to the Dropbox. And I do animation called zoom out. It works very well with web pages. I did not expect, but it works very well. And also I set the duration. So after this block is executed, this is what we have output. And we have this URL. It says that image zoom, it means zoom out. The duration is 6 seconds. Then again 6 seconds. This one is 8 seconds and so on. Now we again get the main record for the whole video and it's time to render the video. First, we want to render the background video. The background video I render through this JSON to video. I say that it is vertical format and I provide it with what we have just generated with the slides for this video. It will generate the main background video from screenshots and from images. Then we add another block for wait for a movie to render. And you need to add project ID from this previous block. And after this is done, I update the URL for background in the main record. So we have also the video length and the URL. At this point, we have background, we have our avatar, and we need to put everything together. There is one additional step. If you want to add music, you can add music also right here. In my videos, I use static music from Dropbox. And I basically just get that file from Dropbox and add the music URL to the record so that we can use it later. If your avatar has a background and you want it to be transparent, there is another tool which I have found and it is super useful. It is called Sieve. I hope I pronounced it right, Sieve Data. You can go here, you get $20 in free credits, and it has some machine learning models that you can use to, for example, this one to remove background. And I use exactly this one. So it is Sieve background removal. It has API. You can also test it here. You can see how it works here. You can remove the file, input your file and see how it works with different settings. And what it also does is it replaces background with a specific color. So you can you can even edit your original video and add a green screen. That is basically what I did with my video for HeyGen. After I recorded my avatar video for HeyGen, I went here and replaced the background in that video to the green screen one, and I added that green screen video as my new avatar, as my new look in HeyGen, this one. It may take a little bit long to process the video, but it will make it done. But if you have a video with background, then you can use it on the fly for each video. And so I have this route that removes avatar background. This is HTTP block with API key, and you can add new credentials here. This is what I did before. So I replaced background color to -1, which is transparent, and that worked also decently well. So you can remove the avatar and replace the avatar background and replace the avatar URL right here. And after you do it, we finally are ready for the last stage, is where we combine everything together. At this point, we have avatar, we have background, we have music, and background from the avatar is removed. So finally, we are ready to render the final video. I can get that record from the database, because if you use the one which we have got here, it will not contain the updated fields. So we need to get it again and use another get create a movie from JSON. If you go to JSON to video, go to editor. Here you can create a template that you can use later. So you can add a new element. Let's say this will be our background video. And then let's say you want to add another video for avatar. Let's say, okay, we will remove this text here. This video will be our background, and this video will be the avatar video. You can also add audio right here, and you can also add subtitles. Subtitles will be added automatically, or you can upload subtitles if you already have them. And you can render it. You can modify some parameters here. For example, you can modify style, font size, etc. All is done here. You can also set variables right here. I'm probably not doing it properly here, but after you have verified that everything works fine, then you go to scene, copy this JSON. It will contain all the information that you need, and you can create a movie from JSON. And this is what I have here. So in my case, it has the ID, and ID is, I just use a timestamp, current timestamp, some comment, resolution quality, scenes, and this is, okay, I probably did not do it. Probably you go to the movie template and copy the whole movie template JSON, right? And you use this JSON in your make scenario. So you copy that JSON, and now you can modify it. This is how I do it. Or you can render it from a template if you created a template. But for me, it was easier to create it with JSON. And I specify the main scene, the element. This is the background video. Background video duration is -2 because we will be using our avatar video to define the length of the duration of the video. And -2 says that it will be adjusted to the main video length. Okay, and source, this is what we need. Source is the link to the background video. So source for avatar video is the link to the avatar video. And if you use green screen, then you use this chroma key and specify the color that needs to be removed. In my case, this is obviously green. And you can also modify tolerance. Because my main video is a little bit bigger, I want it to be a little bit bigger, I set smaller values here. And finally, for background music, you also use -2 duration. You can modify volume. You set source to your music URL, and subtitles. Here is what I use for subtitles. And finally, I also have that final screen with subscribe for more videos like this that I set to appear 2 seconds before the end of the video. And that is also why I need the length of the video in seconds to set this final text to appear. It is just an example of what you can do. Of course, you can create a lot of different things with this JSON to video tool. Now what we need to do is only to wait for movie to render, and after it is rendered, we update the final URL. For our main record, we set this final URL, and we finally notify ourselves in Telegram with this final video URL. And before we wrap up, many people ask about what is the price for this tool. I have calculated it here for you. So HeyGen costs $99 per month, and it is enough to create 100 videos of 2 minutes long. Then we use JSON to video to generate and render the final video. Assembly AI is just 20 cents for 100 minutes of your videos. 11 Labs is $22 per month. Claude and OpenAI, I believe the cost will be around $5 a month. It can vary a little bit depending on the models that you use. AgentQL that we use for screenshots, they give you 50 free credits. For requests above that, you pay just 2 cents per request. Replicate and Ideogram or whatever else you use to generate images is probably one of the most expensive tools right here, along with HeyGen and JSON to video. The cost to me comes up to around $56 a month. Gemini with grounding, again, you don't need it if you don't do grounding and if you don't display web pages at the background. But the cost is around like $4. And finally, Sieve that you use for background removal, but you can remove the background in your initial video, and that is what I recommend. Then it will be free, but if you use it to remove background from each video, then it can be quite expensive. So the overall price to create 100 videos of 1 minute length each comes down to just $250 or $2.50 per video, which in my opinion is super inexpensive, especially if you compare it to traditional methods of creating videos, or if you try to calculate return on investment, and if you get just one client from a video like that, that would also be very reasonable. And finally, let's check out the video that was created from my quick voice note and see what it came up with.
So I just discovered the AI researcher that's about to revolutionize how we do academic and technical research. And trust me, it makes DeepSec look like a calculator from the 1980s. Right now, researchers spend weeks manually digging through papers, cross-referencing sources, and piecing together complex information. In fact, the average academic spends 40% of their research time just finding and sorting relevant materials. But this new GPT researcher, it's a game changer. Here's how it works. Instant comprehensive literature reviews, cross-references multiple academic databases simultaneously, generates structured summaries in minutes, identifies hidden connections human researchers might miss. Imagine cutting your research time from weeks to hours. This isn't just an upgrade. It's a complete transformation of how we approach academic investigation. And the crazy part? It's so precise. It's finding insights that even seasoned researchers overlook.
Okay, that was the final video. Maybe it was not the best one with the voice at the end, but in general, you have got the idea, and there is a lot of things that can be created with this tool. I hope I have not missed anything. If I did, then let me know. And if you know a better way to create videos like that, then also please share your opinion and your experience with tools like that. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.